Has it been 2 weeks already? Yes, as a matter of fact, it has. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another Ask Away live stream. Hello to everybody in the chat. I see some familiar faces already. Thanks for coming. Fair warning, just as was the case about a month ago, I'm just getting knocked around by my allergies a little bit today. So if I have to temporarily mute my microphone and go off camera to blow my nose or whatever, that may be happening. So so just prepare yourselves. I will try to keep it to a minimum. But yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for joining. As always, if you're with me right now in the live chat and you have questions, please hold on to them for a few minutes because I'm going to be answering questions from Patreon patrons to start with, and then I will come to everybody in the live chat and answer questions for a little bit, and then we'll go back to answering some pre-submitted questions from comments on the last video, and then we'll go back and do a lightning round. You know how, if you've been here before, you know how it goes. So hold on to your questions in the live chat. Thank you all for coming, and I will be with you in a minute. But first, let's answer some questions that I received from my wonderful, beautiful Patreon patrons since the last live stream. The first one is from Francois Lacombe, who is also in the live chat. Hello. Francois says, hello, Steve. How about a fun hypothetical one? Heaven is supposedly a place where people are eternally happy. However, different people find happiness in different things, so heaven would have to be customized for each individual. What would your corner of heaven look like? That's a really good question. Heaven is a place on earth, Francois. Belinda Carlisle would probably be there. There would have to be a movie theater. You'd have to have a movie theater. You'd have to have like a bookstore, or at least, you could get a Kindle with a nice selection. A Kindle in heaven, it should be every book you could possibly imagine, and it should be free. Everybody, when you get to heaven, you should automatically be subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, and Kindle Unlimited should have every book ever. So that's an important piece. Or a bookstore that has everything, and a nice coffee shop. And there's usually some people there, but it's not too crowded, something like that. That would be a necessity. You got to have some baseball. There's got to be a baseball diamond, and it's got to be baseball played in stadiums that were constructed specifically for baseball, that are asymmetrical, and you can't play football in them, or you can't play soccer in them. You can't use them for any. They're not multi-purpose sports stadiums. They're just baseball fields. That's gotta be there too. So yeah. Oh, I don't know. Like my friends and family would be there or some shit too. Something like that. I feel like if you want to, I would want to have the things in life that bring me joy, and movies and books and baseball, and maybe every year or so, there's a new Star Trek series, and it's always good. And you're automatically subscribed to CBS All Access, or maybe maybe in heaven they just put it on Netflix, something like that. I don't know, but yeah, good question. It would be something like that. It would be a lot of very shallow distractions in my heaven, apparently. Next is from Tom McDonald. Hi, Steve. I won't be watching you live this Friday because we're at war over your deep disdain for Ray Bradbury. But even if you and I weren't enemies right now, I would be unable to watch because I'll be at the Secular Women Work Conference in Minneapolis. If I were to ask you a question, though, it would be, on a scale of 1 to 10, how envious of me are you right this minute? I'll take my answer off air. Yeah, well, first of all, yeah, this is the weekend of the Secular Women Work Conference in Minneapolis, and I just want to say to all my friends who are there, I hope you have a great time. I hope you have a great conference. I was happy to have Manette Richards on the channel a couple months ago when they were doing their fundraiser, and I doubt that I contributed very much to helping them make the fundraiser because my footprint isn't actually all that big, but I like to think I convinced and cajoled at least a few people to give that maybe ordinarily wouldn't have, and help to have the thing fully funded. So I'm so glad that it's happening. I'm so glad that all my friends are there. Hopefully they're going to have a great time and learn a lot, and come out of it with a lot of knowledge and a lot of excitement and a lot of motivation, and they're going to go out and do a lot of good. And to answer on a scale of 1 to 10 of how jealous I am, I guess it would probably be close to a 10, Tom. I'm pretty jealous. I would love to be able to be there with everybody. And I don't know, I've never been, but I would imagine Minnesota is lovely this time of year. I don't know. Most of it is probably de-iced this time of year, so it's probably a good time to go to Minnesota. But again, no, not speaking from experience there. But yeah, I hope you have a great time at the conference. I hope everybody there has a great time when they have a great conference. Next question is from Dave Edwards, who I noticed also is in the chat. Hi, Dave. Dave says, okay, now that you've got this great jump in subs, where's the fucking swag? Oh, Dave. Oh, the tough thing is that with the way my channel is, it's tough to think of like what good swag would be. I mean, I could start peddling T-shirts, I guess, or offering T-shirts to patrons, as rewards or whatever. But like, what would be on the T-shirt? Would it be like my face, or stuffy, or some slogan that I've said in a video? Would it be, speak out, act out, resist, look after each other? Like, I don't know. Or something to do with Star Trek that did not violate existing copyright. I'm not sure what the swag would be, but yeah, that would be cool. If anybody has any idea for Steve-related swag that you would be willing to wear or make use of or would like to have and would not find to be utterly embarrassing, I would be very interested in any suggestions. Next question is from John Burnsy. Steve, many claim that Star Trek is socialist, but with food and clothing being provided at little to no cost, and members of Starfleet getting shelter for free thanks to replicator technology. Is that true? Or what would one call a society which has no need for food and clothing? Well, I mean, I guess if you want to get super technical about it, they need the food and the clothing. It's just... it's available to them in abundance. And what you would call that is a post-scarcity society. I don't know if it would be technically correct to call the Earth society that we glimpse in Star Trek socialist. But it's definitely post-scarcity, at least in the 24th century when we get to Captain Picard, because they say explicitly in First Contact that... the economics of the future don't revolve around money. It revolves around trying to better yourself. And in the few glimpses we see of life on Earth outside of Starfleet seems to suggest that, people still work, people still have jobs, people still do things that we would recognize people doing from our time, but they don't do it because they have to. They do it because they want to. Captain Sisko's father owns a restaurant, and it seems like he does that because he genuinely likes it. He likes cooking for people. He likes being in service to people. And so that sort of thing is the way, that's how society in the future in Star Trek is arranged. So I don't know if that would be socialist, because I feel like the defining trait of socialism, as I have been reminded by my proper socialist friends, the defining trait of socialism is that labor owns the means of production. The workers own the means of production. But if you're in a post-scarcity society where everybody has enough of everything that they could possibly need and nobody has to work in order to survive, to me it feels like you would have to redefine terms like worker and labor so much to make sense in that context that we wouldn't even really recognize them. So I don't know if it's, I mean, in a very loose sense, in a very general sort of conversational sense, you could say it's socialist, maybe, but specifically socialist as an economic philosophy or a means of setting up an economy, I don't know if you could say it's socialist. I think you would have to say it's utopian. It's post scarcity. Everybody has enough of everything they need, so nobody works because they have to work in order to earn money to survive. They work because it gives them pleasure, or it gives them something meaningful to do, or it enriches their lives in some way. That's I don't know if it would quite be proper to call that socialist per se. Next up is from Dr. Babylon. Steve, why do heterosexual men slut shame women? Most women are also heterosexual, so it seems like it's in the collective self-interest of straight men to encourage sex positivity. I also don't get why I should want a woman who refuses the first advance. That kind of etiquette makes human interaction into something Kafkaesque. It's my instinct to take every rejection at face value, since interpreting no as convince me is a good way to get in trouble for sexual harassment. On the off chance a woman says no and actually does mean convince me, then she's established a precedent for not being straightforward and expecting me to read her mind. And I don't know why anyone would want a relationship like that. What are your thoughts on these things? And before I give you my thoughts, I'm going to mute and blow my nose because we've gotten to that point. So take a few minutes, it's not going to be that long. Take a few moments and contemplate Dr. Babylon's question, and I'll be right with you. Okay, so here's the best I can do as far as an answer to that question. What I know from talking to other women about this and from sort of trying to put myself in someone else's shoes and trying to see things the way women see things, or imagine what it's like to experience our culture as a woman does, the whole role of a woman in our society, in our male-dominated society, consists of being subjected to mind fuckery on a virtually moment-by-moment basis. All of the standards and expectations that are set up predominantly by men for women are contradictory and irreconcilable, and they just amount to gigantic ongoing mind fucks. Because women are told that they're supposed to be sexy, they're supposed to be desirable, they're supposed to be physically attractive, but they're also told that they're supposed to be not too sexually eager, but at the same time not completely closed off to sex. They should be teases, but they shouldn't really be teases. They should be just enough of a tease, and then they should give in. And it's impossible to navigate. I'm amazed that any woman is able to navigate any of this with any deal of success, or escape with any kind of peace of mind or self-esteem or anything, because it's completely fucked. It's completely fucked. The mixed signals, the mixed messages, and just the amount of coercion and manipulation and completely unfair, irrational expectations that are placed on women, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, why does it make sense for hetero guys to slut shame women? It doesn't. But it happens because guys are reacting to the same fucked up assumptions and standards that we are applying to women, where we are told as men growing up that a desirable woman, a woman who is doing things right, a woman that we should want to go out with or want to couple with and get married to and have children with or whatever, that is someone who is sexually open but not too sexually eager, you know. So she has to. That's where the whole idea of, well, you know, a real woman will turn down the first advance. She can't be too eager to jump into bed with you, because you don't want her to be a slut. You want her to have a little bit of restraint, but you don't want her to have too much restraint, because then she's a cold fish. Then she's an ice queen. She's a bitch, and you don't want that. So you have to navigate it right perfectly down the middle. And yeah, it's a mind fuck for men too. Men don't suffer as much from it as women do. Men aren't dehumanized by it to the degree that women are, but it still creates unfulfillable expectations in the minds of men, and that's why shit like that happens. That's why, even though it doesn't make any sense for men who like women to treat women that way, it happens because that's what we are signaled by our fucked up misogynistic culture that we're supposed to do. We're telling them that they need to conform to these expectations that we're told we're supposed to have, even though those expectations don't make any sense and don't really result in any good for anybody, men or women. So yeah, I mean, I think you're completely right to observe that it doesn't make any sense, and I think the points you make in your question are completely valid, and I agree with a lot of that. You would ideally want people to be straightforward. And if someone says, no, I'm not interested, you should assume that's what they mean. And if they say that, that is what they should mean when they say that. And if you set up a system where everybody's trying to read each other's minds and you have to assume, well, she said no, but she probably means something other than no. Or if you're a woman and you say no, you're thinking, but I don't really mean no. That's a completely unworkable system. But it's also the system that we kind of have. It's a shit show. The whole thing is just a shit show. That's my answer. Men slut shame women because the whole fucking system is just a misogynistic shit show. There you go. Next question is from Jon Brockman. A seismic event happens and YouTube dies a fiery death. What do you do for a living? Have I already asked this? Someone must have. If so, here's another one. What's your favorite book for bathroom reading? Okay, I don't know if anybody's asked the what would you do for a living question already or not. I can't remember anyone specifically asking that, but you're right. It must have come up at some point. And the answer is I don't really know. I mean, I suppose what I might do is just get a job to pay the bills and then try to make something happen with writing, or try to get involved in video producing in some more professional aspect. Because, or maybe find a different host for my videos. Try to keep doing the video thing and make money through ad revenue and Patreon, but just find a different host other than YouTube if YouTube goes belly up. Something like, it would probably be a lot of floundering and a lot of struggling and a lot of grasping at straws for a few months or years if I make it that long. But I don't know. Eventually, I'm sure I would find something, or I would starve. And second question, what's my favorite book for bathroom reading? I usually just take my Kindle and just read stuff on the internet. I might have an article that I meant to read earlier, and I'll be like, oh, I have time to read that now, and I'll go for that. I don't usually go for a book. I'm not in there that long. What do you think, John? That I'm in there for that long? I can if I had a book that I only read while I was on the can, it would take me months to finish that book. I'm just not in there that long. Usually, I don't know. Maybe other people are in there long enough to actually have enough time to read a book, and you'll finish the book in a reasonable amount of time. Not me. Next, from Huey Chambers. The concept of infinite quantum reality almost fills my mind up as much as time traveling and making a technoganic utopia. But do you ever think that what if one of those realities had beings like gods, maybe like the Q in Star Trek? Does it, like me, fill that 0.1 chance that a god or gods might be real? That's kind of an interesting idea. That maybe there's no God. If there are infinite parallel realities, maybe there's no God in our reality, but there is a God in some other quantum reality. That's an interesting notion. But if there were gods in those other quantum realities, if they were truly gods, if they were truly omnipotent, wouldn't they be able to cross the threshold and visit other realities? And why haven't they visited ours yet? If there are infinite quantum realities, then that means that there are an infinite number of realities where there are such gods, which is a lot. So you think we would have heard from one of them, unless they just don't care, or maybe their omnipotence is limited to their quantum realm. Maybe they're omnipotent, but they can't go beyond their own quantum realm. In which case, okay, so I guess we have to redefine the concept of a god. A god is someone who is omnipotent within their native quantum realm, but they can't go beyond that. You see how deep it gets and how quick when you start pondering these things. Yeah, but it's a good idea. It's an interesting notion that if that's the way reality is set up, we might have an atheistic universe here, but next universe over, there might be gods aplenty. It's possible. I personally don't really spend a lot of time considering it as a realistic possibility, but I suppose it's possible, yeah. And that could be something you could do to sort of placate if you're in an argument with a religious friend and they get kind of pissed at you for saying that there's no God. You could say, well, look, hey, science tells us there's a possibility that there are other quantum realities alongside our own. Maybe there's a God in one of those. Feel better, buddy? So you could give it a shot. See, I'll be interested to see what reaction you get. Next question is from some random geek. I forgot to mention in the last Ask Away that Grave of the Fireflies was in theaters in North America for just 3 days. I went to see it last week, and it is still a great underseen movie. Did you get to see Grave of the Fireflies? It is fine if you didn't. What was the last movie you saw in the theaters if it wasn't that? Well, yeah, I did not get to see Grave of the Fireflies. I'm glad it's fine, though. I'm glad I'm not in trouble for that. The last movie I saw in the theater was probably, I think it was Infinity War. That was the last time. I don't get to the movie theater all that often. And like a week after I saw Infinity War, or maybe a couple weeks, but within a relatively short time after I went to see Infinity War, the theater that I went to see it at closed. Like, they're closed for business. So I snuck one last movie in at that theater before they closed, and it was Infinity War. So I guess that was a pretty good note to go out on, because Infinity War was good. But yeah, that was the last movie I saw in the theater. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've seen anything since then. No, I know I haven't. So yeah, Infinity War was the last movie I saw at the movie theater, and it was the last movie I'll ever see at that particular movie theater. Next and final Patreon question is from Joe McClory. Here's a fun exercise. Can you rank the Star Trek captains by the performances of the actor in their roles outside of Star Trek? Hey, that is a really good question. Let me try to think. Okay, so just by his quality as an actor and the sheer number of his roles outside of Star Trek, I feel like we have to put Patrick Stewart at the top of the list. He has to be number one. Number two, personally, I would go for Bakula, because in addition to Captain Archer, he was also Sam in Quantum Leap, and that's like mega points for me. So Stewart, Bakula, let's see, Avery Brooks was Hawk in Spencer for Hire, and he had a very good supporting role in American History X. So we can go for number three, can be Avery Brooks. For Kate Mulgrew, I haven't really seen a lot of her stuff outside of Voyager. I know she was Mrs. Columbo, but I didn't really watch that. And I know that she's in Orange is the New Black, but I haven't watched that either. So I'm not really sure. I don't think I've really seen a lot of her non-Star Trek work. I know she was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. I remember that. She was pretty good there. So let's go with that. Let's go with Kate Mulgrew, number 4. Shatner, I love Shatner. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he's not what I would call a good actor. So we'll put Shatner at the bottom at number 5. I mean, he did Star Trek. No, wait a minute. I'm going to revise. I'm sorry. I'm going to revise. I'm going to put Shatner at number 4 after Avery Brooks. No, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put Shatner at number 3. How about that? All due respect to Avery Brooks and all due respect to Kate Mulgrew, but Shatner, I've been sitting here thinking about it as I'm talking through it. Shatner not only did Star Trek, he also did 2 classic Twilight Zones. Nightmare at 40,000 Feet and Nick of Time, which is my personal favorite Twilight Zone ever, where he plays a man who has just gotten married, and him and his wife go into a little diner in a town while they're waiting to get their car fixed, and he becomes convinced that the little napkin dispenser that you put a penny in it and push a button and it gives you like a little slip of paper that tells your fortune. It's like a magic 8-ball type of thing. He becomes convinced that it is predicting his future for real, and he becomes like really preoccupied with it, and he never wants to leave the town. Awesome Twilight Zone episode. One of the few Twilight Zone episodes where nothing indisputably supernatural happens. It's all very psychological. Written by Richard Matheson, and that's my favorite Twilight Zone, and Shatner is in that, and Shatner's great in that. And he also is an Emmy winner for Denny Crane in The Practice and Boston Legal, which I've only seen a little tiny bit of, but he seems like he did okay in that. And he won an Emmy, so that's got to count for something, right? They don't give awards to people who don't deserve them, right? So we'll go Patrick Stewart number 1, Scott Bakula number 2, Shatner number 3, Avery Brooks number 4, and Kate Mulgrew number 5. I am leaving out Chris Pine from the Kelvinverse because I just realized I forgot him and I don't feel like going back through it. So there you go. All right, that's it for the patron questions. Now, let's see what's going on in the chat, which I've been completely neglecting this whole time. So let's see what we're what we're talking about here in the chat. Yeah, I just see at the top of my window Norman Buchwald saying hands down Patrick Stewart #1. Yeah, Patrick Stewart is a good actor, but he's also a ham. And that's why I think he's such a great fit for Star Trek and also for X-Men, just for genre stuff in general. Because he is legitimately a really talented, terrific actor. But he's also a huge fucking ham. That's why he's a great Shakespearean actor, because you need that. You need both to be a Shakespearean actor. You need to be technically very skilled and just a terrific actor, and you also need to be just a huge fucking ham. So he's great at Shakespeare. Same deal with Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen, fantastic actor. Huge ham. So, yeah, I think Patrick Stewart is #1. Oh, hey, Norman says he'd place Kate Mulgrew second. Yeah, see, because I haven't seen Orange is the New Black, so I have trouble placing her. Real Bill Ball, what's your opinion about Bill Maher? I'm not really a fan. I used to be a fan. I used to watch Politically Incorrect once upon a time, and I used to watch Real Time, since he got that show on HBO. And I used to kind of like Religulous, but that was when I was kind of a younger atheist. Like I hadn't come as far in my thoughts about atheism and religion and what the right way to view all of that was. I've evolved a lot in my thinking on that. And I'm not a big Bill Maher fan. I think he falls prey to a lot of the perils of centrism. I know he's a liberal, and I know he's mostly on the left side of things politically, but he also has a little bit of sort of the South Park philosophy, where he rips on everybody and he thinks that makes him neutral somehow. And I've grown kind of tired of his act, and I think some of his stuff is sexist, and some of his stuff is homophobic, and some of his stuff is transphobic, and I don't think he means any of that. I think in his head he's very supportive of all those groups, but he just says shit that comes out that way, and then when people complain, he doesn't really care. And he's kind of an anti-vaxxer, which I can't get behind. So no, I'm not a big fan of Bill Maher. At one point I might have said I was, but I can't say that anymore. Humbilly, have you seen Dark Matter, the TV show? No, I have not. I've heard of it. I know that it exists, but I have never seen it. I don't even know what it's about. So, no, sorry. Astro Gamer, yes, my favorite Star Trek show is also Deep Space Nine, very much. This is a good one from Nobody Listens. How do you deal with listening to, reading, watching the work of problematic people? I know you like Superman Returns. Did your views on that movie change at all after learning about Singer plus Spacey? I already knew a little bit about Singer when the movie came out. The rumors about Singer have been out for a long time. They came back as a part of the Weinstein effect, which is good, because that forces people like me to sort of deal with it and not compartmentalize it, which is what I was doing. So I knew about the Singer stuff going in, didn't know about the Spacey stuff until that blew up last year. And I haven't watched the movie since, to be honest. I get the feeling it is going to be one of those things where I will hold on to that movie because I love that movie so much, and that movie means a lot to me. But going forward, I will avoid the work of those artists. I don't know if Spacey is gonna find it as easy to make a comeback as some people. But Bryan Singer, unless there's something truly, truly horrible that comes out about him that people haven't heard before, I don't know. Singer might be the type of guy that survives and is able to keep working in more of a low key fashion. But I don't know if in good conscience I can continue to support him or Kevin Spacey. But yeah, I mean, it's tough with problematic people just in general, not just Superman Returns. It's tough, and it's something that's personal, and it's case by case. I might decide to handle it one way, you might decide to handle it another way, and there's not really a right or a wrong way to go about it. It depends on what they did. It depends on what makes them problematic. It depends on if it was a one-time thing or if it's a consistent part of their personality. It depends on how they have been treated or handled by the people that they actually hurt. If their actions were toward specific people, if they've tried to make amends, if they've tried to change, if they've tried to grow and to learn something, that's important. It's tough. It depends on who the problematic person is. It depends on what they did that makes them problematic. It depends on my own history with them. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's tough. I can't say one thing that, well, here's how I deal with problematic people. One thing I do think we should not do is pretend that it's not a problem and just ignore it and say, well, I like that movie, so fuck that. Like, I don't think that gets us anywhere good as individuals or as a society. I think we have to wrestle with it. We have to figure out something to do. We can't just pretend that it didn't happen and say, well, that's his personal life. I mean, it's not just his personal life if he was affecting other people or if he's putting things out into the culture that are harmful to people. You can't just say, well, that's his personal life, it's not my business. But it's tough. It can be very tough. Fallout 2 Forever, what is a ham exactly? A ham is an actor who goes for it. A big, broad, sort of overacting actor who just swings for the fences. Choose the scenery, as they say. Just a big, broad... it's hard to describe without saying ham. Just a hammy actor. See, I forgot... Norman is reminding me in the chat, I forgot about the captains from Discovery too. I was going for like the classic 5 captains. I didn't rank Michelle Yeoh and I didn't rank Jason Isaacs. So 255 AD, did you really block Creationist Cat, or was that music video joke? I didn't block him, but I have not spoken to him since. I don't appreciate people taking part in things that send harassment and abuse my way or my family's way. I don't appreciate people associating with people who do that or have done that or treating that like it's not a problem or it's not a big deal or it's something to be made fun of or joked about. So no, I didn't block him, and I on either account I haven't blocked him as Creationist Cat or as Vadim, but I haven't spoken to him since then, and I don't plan to. Yeah. No, we were never really that close anyway, and I know that he has sort of course-corrected a little bit. I feel like he has tried to do some things better, or maybe had more of a realization of what the character of some of the people he was being lumped in with are. He's trying to make it more clear that he doesn't want to be included in that group, and that's fine, good for him, but... like I say, I haven't spoken to him since, and I have no interest in speaking with him or having anything to do with him. A Trance, do you have an opinion of UK Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn? Not really. I don't really know a whole lot about him. I don't know enough about him to have like a strong opinion. Let me see. Oh, Humbilly. Seen Ian McKellen as Richard III. Yeah, absolutely. That's, again, Shakespeare, you have to be a fantastically skilled actor, and you also have to be a ham. I think that's a great... Richard III in general is a great role for that. Because you have to be a good actor. You can't just be a shitty actor, but you also have to have the ability to go big, I think Richard III is a terrific role for that. Oh, Radical Bacon, what's the drink? It's just iced tea. It's just iced tea. I don't get drunk on camera. The closest I ever came to like getting drunk on camera was when I did the when I would do like the Jaeger bombs, the depth charges, when I would do movie reviews. And the first couple times I did those, they were real. It was real beer and real Jägermeister. And then after a couple of times I started faking it with cream soda and like Coke or something in the shot glass. I it's like this is kind of my job, And I don't want to get drunk at my job. Have to have a little sense of professionalism, don't I? But yeah, it's just iced tea. Hi, John. Jon Brockman is with us. Oh, John asks, do you think Spacey's comeback will be more difficult because his Me Too thing was gay? I don't know. You know what? I don't know for sure if it really makes that much of a difference. Maybe it does. I mean, I know Me Too is sort of centered more on harassment against women and abuse against women, not against men. But I think, I mean, Spacey was dropped pretty quick. Like he was treated just the same as Weinstein and as other men who were called out for mistreating women. So I don't know if it'll wind up making that much of a difference. I'm sorry, I know that I'm probably skipping over some questions. As I always say during these live streams, if I miss your question because because the chat just goes by too fast, like it's nothing personal, it doesn't mean that you asked like a shitty question or anything. I just may have missed it. I'm kind of going through and trying to pick out ones. Here's another one from Humbilly. Deep Space Nine, not a ripoff of Babylon 5. Feelings on Babylon 5. I like Babylon 5. I think there's probably some truth to Straczynski saying that Paramount borrowed from his Babylon 5 pitch. But, I mean, I think if you watch both shows, they are different enough in a lot of different ways that I don't think it's fair to call Babylon 5, to call Deep Space Nine a ripoff of Babylon 5. Maybe it might have been fair to say that at first, but I think the shows wound up going in very different directions. Obviously, there are parallels you can draw between them all along the way. You know, they both built up to a big war storyline. They both eventually focused on interconnected stories and sort of saga storytelling. They both featured character a lot and story more so than plot. They both dealt with some very dark themes. Like there's you know, they both take place on the space station. Like there's a lot of parallels you can draw. But I don't know if it's fair to say that Deep Space Nine was a ripoff, and I think it's possible to appreciate both shows. As I do. I like Babylon 5. I just like Deep Space Nine a lot more. Dr. Babylon, Steve, I'm able to separate the artist from his work, so I don't feel obligated to defend sexual harassers whose work I love, and I don't feel bad about enjoying the art of sexual harassers. Thoughts? Well, if that's how you do it, that's fine. I mean, I don't think that for you enjoying the work of sexual harassers equates to approving of what they did or supporting them generally for that. If you're able to separate yourself from separate the art from the artist and enjoy it for what it is, as long as the art itself is not, abusive or offensive or problematic in that way. And that's, do what you do. I think people who can separate it are free to do so. And I don't necessarily judge them for it. As long as they understand that other people may have a problem with it or aren't able or aren't willing to separate the art from the artist, and that they're entitled to feel that way too. You know? Radical Bacon, my butt hurts. How do I complain about this without it sounding sexual? I mean, I don't think my butt hurts necessarily sounds sexual. I mean, you could certainly go to a very sexual place with it. But not necessarily, you know. How about you say, my butt hurts, and then you explain it. You say, because whatever, or you know, and you leave no doubt whatsoever that it's not a sexual thing. Unless it is a sexual thing, but you don't want it to sound like that, in which case you're just going to probably have to make something up. Matthias Bergeron, please increase your Star Trek video production by 1,000%. Okay, you got it. Blue Archer 15. Do you think Q will be returning for the new Picard show? I don't know. Part of me thinks that it would be really cool, but then on the other hand, part of me feels like it would be fan service. And I as much as I'm looking forward to seeing the new Picard show and as excited as I am about it, I really hope that they downplay the fan service, that they don't just trot out old TNG characters for appearances because they think that's what we want to see. I would be perfectly happy to have a Picard-centered show where Picard was the only major character that we saw from TNG. You know, I mean, I know maybe a lot of people wouldn't want that. Maybe a lot of people do want the fan service. They want to see, you know, Troy and Riker and Geordi come out and be like, hey, it's 20 years later, here we are. if they find a way to do that it doesn't feel gratuitous, I think that would be wonderful. But and if they can find a way to incorporate Q that doesn't feel like fan service, I think that would be great. But I don't necessarily expect to see him, and I don't think we really need to. You don't need to have Q show up to do a Picard story, you know. But I mean, like I say, if they find a good reason for it and they can make it work, that would be great. Astro Gamer, do you play Star Trek Online? No, I've never played it. I play Star Trek Timelines from time to time. I go through phases where I'm really into it, and then I forget about it for a long time, and then I pick it up again, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I do that, but I've never played Star Trek Online. Fallout 2 Forever, would you talk to CC if he contacted you and apologized? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I might be open to accepting an apology if it was, you know, if it was a good apology. But he does, I mean, it's not like, it's nothing that has been eating me up inside. Like, I don't think, and I don't really think it's something that bothers him that much either. At least not that I've been aware of. I can, you know, it's not something that I feel like, oh, I need closure. I need him to apologize. I don't give a shit. He was nice to some, and he, you know, he did some things with some shitty people who were part of the whole thing a couple years ago, where it was people making videos about me and shitting on me and inciting harassment against me and against my wife, and I'm not cool with that. And maybe he thought he was just kidding around, or he thought it was a joke, but I think that it wasn't cool. And if he feels like he needs to apologize to me for that, then he's welcome to try and do so. But I don't expect one. I'm not asking for one, and I have no guarantee of what my reaction would be if he did, honestly. You know, it's up to him. It's not really something I think about that much. John is yelling about my iced tea. It's just tea with ice in it. Okay, it's cold tea. Oh, Jason. Okay, Billy suggested Jason Alexander playing Mud. That might work, actually. I could see that. Jason Alexander would be a good Mud. You know who else would be a good Mud? Jason Harding. Okay, 255 AD. What do you think of Eli Bosnick's blog about you? I thought it was amazing. I thought it was it was very flattering. It made me smile. It made me happy. I thought it was, because I love Eli. I think Eli is a great guy, and really funny, and really just a good dude. I like Eli a lot, and I thought the blog he wrote about me was wonderful. It was like, wow, that's really cool. You know, it made me feel really good. I thought it was terrific. Fallout 2 Forever, why aren't there any serious Star Trek-like shows anymore, you know, where it takes place on a spaceship? I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, were there ever really that many? I mean, I can only think of a few that were, like, super serious. Like the new Battlestar Galactica was pretty straight and pretty serious, but I don't know if there were ever, like, a ton of them. Oh, Radical Bacon, what will they do for Data for the new Picard show? Yeah, and Francois Lacombe right after that says Data's dead. I'm actually, as much as I love Data, I'm happy with Data being dead. I mean, I think I wasn't happy with the way they killed him off. I wasn't happy with Nemesis. But they killed the character, and I kind of feel like if you want deaths in fiction to mean something, they have to stick. So if Data is killed, then I think he should stay dead. Now, they did bring him back in the comics. They basically said that his neural net imprinted it on B4's brain, so Data came back that way, which was kind of hinted at the end of Nemesis. And in the comics that have been set post-Nemesis, they basically said, yeah, that's what happened. Data's back. So I guess they could do that if they wanted to have Data come back, and they could just say, well, you know, he's programmed to age. So that's why he looks so much older when Brent Spiner comes back as Data. So they could, but I don't think they have to, and I'd be happy if they didn't, honestly. And no, I haven't seen the lineup. I haven't seen the lineup for Doom Patrol. No, you know, and Humbilly also talking about ham actors, saying LeVar Burton is an amazing actor, but not a ham. No, I don't know if I would say LeVar Burton is a ham either. He has certain things he does as an actor that are maybe a little extravagant or that are ham-ish. But I've never seen LeVar Burton give a performance that I would say that came across to me as hammy. No, I think you're right. I don't, but I also think you're right that he's an extraordinary actor. And also I have not watched ContraPoint's Incels video yet. I'm behind on my ContraPoints. I feel bad. Thoughts on The Expanse? I have not seen it. On behalf of Leto, have you read the Bread Book yet? Watch fucking Legion. I haven't, and I haven't. Sorry, but I will. I promise I will watch Legion. Oh, and don't worry, 255 AD, you didn't shame me. Don't worry about it. I don't feel like you were jumping on me for not wanting to associate with Vadim or Creationist Cat. No, I don't. It didn't come across that way at all. No, so no worries about that. Hold on for a minute in the live chat. I want to answer a couple of the questions that I got from comments on the last. I almost said you had to ask the last Ask Away video, and then I'll come back and we'll answer some more questions from the live chat, and we'll do a lightning round to finish off. Okay. So first, here's a question left as a comment on the archived version of the last live stream from Corey Donaldson. Corey says, with the recent suicides of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade because of the horrible depression they suffered, I've read some very cruel and judgmental comments saying that Anthony and Kate are cowards and deserve to rot in hell. What is your thoughts on this, and do you consider suicide an act of cowardice? No, I do not. Sorry about that. I had to take a moment and deal with the allergy situation. No, I do not think that suicide is an act of cowardice. And I think it's a terrible thing to portray it that way, or to talk about people who died as a result of suicide as though they took the easy way out, they chickened out. I think that's incredibly cruel and inhuman, not compassionate, and also harmful and dangerous, and sends a bad message. I don't consider people who commit suicide to be cowards or to have done anything that reflects poorly on their courage or their character or anything like that. I think suicides are very sad things, but I don't think that it's a poor reflection on the person who kills himself. I mean, if you give in to despair and you kill yourself because you're depressed or because you see no meaning in your life, to me that's a heartbreaking thing. That's a terrible thing, and a very sad thing. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you failed in some way, and I wish there were a way to get people who are feeling that to understand that, but it's not a rational thing. Depression is not a rational thing. Despair is not a place where you're always thinking very clearly, and I think when someone kills themselves, it's terrible. But it doesn't mean they're cowardly. It shouldn't invite any of us to speak poorly of them or to think less of them. It's an occasion for sadness and for grief, not for judgment and character assassination. And that's just absolutely not. I don't think that people who commit suicide are cowards or deserve to be spoken of that way at all. Next question is from Princess Caroline. I cannot remember. When Jadzia Dax was replaced by Ezri Dax, did Jadzia die? What happens when the symbiont is taken from one host and put into a new host? Is the former host harmed? Oh, I'd marry Cisco if he'd have me. Okay, so spoilers for anybody who has not seen Season 7 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Just, take your earbuds out or something. Jadzia dies at the end of Season 6. And Ezri is the new host for the Dax symbiote. So that's what happened there. Jadzia is killed by Gul Dukat after Dukat is possessed by the Pa Wraiths. And he kills Jadzia because Terry Farrell wanted to leave the show. or there were salary negotiations that didn't work out, and she decided to leave. Whatever the deal was there, I can't really remember specifically. But Terry Farrell was leaving the show, so they killed her character, and then they brought Dax back the next season as a new host, and that was Ezri. So that's how that happened. And usually the symbiont is transferred from one host to the other when the host is near death at the end of their life, because once a symbiont is given to a host and the host and the symbiont have bonded, then they can't be separated or the host will die. So that's the deal with that. They don't the symbiont doesn't move from host to host until the current host is about to die, because once the symbiont is removed, the host will die anyway, because the symbiont and the host become dependent on each other. And yeah, you know what? Honestly, I don't really. I'm not into dudes. But if Cisco really wanted to, I'd probably marry him too. Come on, it's Captain Cisco. Like, aside from my beautiful and lovely wife, how are you going to do better than Captain Cisco? Come on. Next question is from Ahoyerno. I've written you another book. It's a horror story. Just wanted to know how realistic it is. Which step has less than 50% chance of happening? First, a little recap. Trump was the sore winner of the 2016 election, claiming he won the popular vote when you discount all the Democrats. Roy Moore still hasn't conceded his loss and claims foul play. Scott Walker refuses to hold special elections in Wisconsin because he knows Democrats will win. The stage is set for Republicans to deny any and all losses. Similar things will happen when the 2018 blue wave hits. Trump will lose in 2020 to Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders, but refuses to concede and have a peaceful transition of power. The Republican minority supports his claim and filibusters anything that could help the president-elect. Trump starts litigation and drags it over to the Supreme Court. With the precedent of Bush v. Gore of Party over Constitution, a 6-3 majority decides that Trump can remain in office. As the Constitution collapses, he runs again in 2024 because no one will stop him. And nobody does. Likely? I feel like I'm not quite pessimistic enough yet to say that it's likely, but I can't say that I consider it impossible. And maybe that's just because I'm sort of primed to think that. I just, a couple days ago, finished reading Sinclair Lewis's novel, It Can't Happen Here, which is about a president winning election and then imposing a dictatorship on the United States. And the main reason that this dictatorship is allowed to be in place is because, as the title suggests, most Americans in the story, including the main character, this newspaper editor who is the main protagonist of the novel, most people are just incredulous. They just think, well, he's not really going to do that. Or, oh, if he tries that, somebody will stop him. And there are some things in the novel that happen that are kind of fantastic that I think probably wouldn't happen. But there are other things that I think probably would happen if something like that were to occur. If a president-elect were to try to subvert the Constitution and impose a kind of dictatorship. And I think one of the most chilling things that the novel gets right is that there's a level of apathy in the electorate that would enable that kind of thing to happen. If the Supreme Court did say, oh yeah, Trump can stay president, and it was obviously a political thing, it was obviously not built on any sort of legal precedent, it was just right-leaning judges giving the win to their guy, I'm sure there are many people in the country who would be livid, who maybe would even be willing to rise up and start a revolution. But there are plenty of other people, probably the greater number, who just wouldn't do anything. They may be against it. They might say, oh, what the hell, that was wrong. But they wouldn't do anything about it. Or they would say, well, okay, but let's not get carried away. Let's let the system work. The checks and balances were put in place, and he's not going to get away with this, and we'll just wait and see what happens. And that kind of complacency would allow such a dictatorship to take root. And I don't think it's definitely going to happen. I wouldn't give it a 50% chance of happening, but I wouldn't give it a 0% chance of happening either, which is terrifying Honestly, it's not a happy prospect. I wouldn't. Certainly not impossible. Probably not probable. Probably not going to happen. But not impossible. And finally, last pre-submitted question from Matt Machado. Hey, Steve. Since a certain group of skeptics, we know who they are, have decided to abandon skepticism in favor of a reactionary political agenda, who do you think will speak at the next Mythos Milwaukee / receive a glowing write-up by Michael Shermer in Skeptic Magazine? Alex Jones, Ken Ham, Ray Comfort, Kirk Cameron, Dinesh D'Souza, some asshole on YouTube with an animal avatar who just made his 100th feminist SJW Wrecked series? I mean, it depends, you know? It depends on whether any of those people do or say something that reinforces a part of Shermer's worldview or the worldview of the organizers of Mythos Milwaukee that they like to have reinforced. You know, I mean, there's no reason for an atheist / skeptic to take anything that Jordan Peterson says seriously other than the fact that he is an enemy of the left. He is an enemy of progressives. He is an enemy of quote-unquote SJWs. And the likes of Shermer and the Mythos Milwaukee guys feel threatened by those same groups, feel targeted by those same groups, and feel penned in by those same groups. These fucking SJWs, they're just getting out of hand. Hey, this Jordan Peterson guy, he doesn't like SJWs either. Let's listen to what he has to say, even though it's complete fucking gobbledygook. And it also has a pretty significant religious character that you would think an atheist and a skeptic would be very suspicious of at least. But no, he tells them what they want to hear. He tells them that SJWs suck, that millennials are just these foolish, pampered children, you know, who can't make good decisions and who are emotional, not rational, and all this other horseshit. And they eat it up. They don't care that he's not an atheist or that his philosophy is actually irreconcilable with an atheist philosophy. They don't care. He wrecks the SJWs. That's all they care about. So yeah, if Ken Ham or Alex Jones or Dinesh D'Souza start attacking SJWs or leftists or progressives or whatever in ways that they find appealing or attractive or reifying for part of their worldview or some bigotry or prejudice of theirs, I think anyone on that list would be possible. Honestly, their commitment to their skepticism falls way behind their commitment to justifying their bigotry and their intolerance. I think they've demonstrated that quite clearly, quite emphatically. And with someone like Shermer, who has been accused of sexual misconduct, he's also very invested in supporting people who will help out that situation, who will encourage people to not believe rape victims, to not believe sexual harassment victims, to give people accused of being abusers the benefit of the doubt. He's very invested in that because his ass is on the line there, because they've already finally gotten some consequences imposed on Lawrence Krauss, and if the judgment comes for Krauss, it's got to be coming for Shermer at some point, and he's got to be sweating a little bit because he knows that the stories out there about him are just as bad and far worse in a couple cases than the stories about Krauss, and just as credible. So yeah, you know, he will latch on to anybody that will provide him some support and some justification, and whether they fit with skepticism or atheism doesn't really matter, because that's not what he really cares about. He cares about taking care of number one. He cares about covering his ass. And that's what the Mythos Milwaukee people care about too. They care about keeping their conference going, attracting attention, getting people to buy tickets, and covering their ass, and justifying whatever it is they feel they have to do. So yeah, if they think that Ken Ham or Alex Jones will sell tickets and will reinforce some part of their philosophy or some part of their worldview, then they'll go for it. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that at all. All right. We are up against the hour. I have answered all of my pre-submitted questions. So why don't we do a little something that I like to call
The lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
Yeah, that's right. The lightning round. So here's how this works. As I think everybody should know by now, I will start the timer. The timer will count down for 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, I will answer as many of the questions that I see in the chat as I possibly can. So if you have a question in the chat, get ready and start asking as soon as you see the timer, and I will try to give quick answers to as many questions as I possibly can in the 5 minutes. So I am starting the timer right now. There we go, and to the chat. Sorry about that. Steve, I'm a Vo-Taoist. I was just wondering what you think of fans, followers of you who are religious. I have no objection to followers or fans who are religious. I try not to be disrespectful of religion or religious people gratuitously. If I disagree with something or I think something in a religion isn't true or is deserving of being scorned or attacked or whatever, I try to be specific and try to focus on it and try not to make religious people in general feel attacked. I don't want to do that. Let me see. Yeah, Trump will also be close to 80 in 2024. Yeah, that's true. Earthman Brick, cheers, Steve. Have you ever thought of doing a gaming stream? Not really. I'm not much of a gamer. I might do something to do with an old Star Trek game at some point, maybe as a tie-in to a Trek Actually video, but I'm not quite sure. 255 AD. How old am I? I'm 38. I turned 38 in May. Radical Bacon, have I seen Counterpoint's video on incels? No, I have not. I haven't watched it yet. Russ Block, what do you think about Ro Laren? I think she's a great character. I wish that they had done a little bit more with her, actually. I thought she was fantastic. Sort of like a precursor to Major Kira in many ways. Nobody Listens. You are asked to write a DC and Marvel comic. What characters are the comics about, and which artists do you work with? I'm not up on the current artists, so I can't say that. I haven't been reading enough. But, I mean, I'd love to do Batman, and I'd love to do Spider-Man. Astro Gamer, what is your favorite Star Trek episode? My favorite Star Trek episode of anything ever is The Visitor. I feel like I say that in every live stream, but it's fine because I love talking about that episode. My favorite Star Trek episode of any Star Trek show ever is Deep Space Nine's The Visitor. Aid Trance, what's your view on the Big Bang Theory ending? About time. I've never watched it. I hear that it's terrible. When I see people describe what it's like, it sounds like I wouldn't like it. So yeah, it's been on for 12 seasons? Yeah, it's about time. Crew Paul, do you think the next series with Captain Picard will be a good one? I have no idea. I hope so. I would like to think it would be, fingers crossed. Dr. Babylon, what happens to the Republican Party when Trump leaves office? They probably go through about 2 to 4 years of hard times, and then people forget and they retake the majority. I mean, they didn't suffer too much after George W. Bush. They will probably suffer more as a result of Trump. But unfortunately, I mean, American voters have short memories and are really, really bad at looking after our own interests. So I'm pretty sure the Republican Party won't suffer any real long-term damage, unfortunately. Oh, wow, I didn't know this, that Daniel O'Brien is going to write for Last Week Tonight. That's awesome. I'm a huge fan of Dan O'Brien. Good for him. Oh, okay. Marty Mestmaker asked, what was your favorite childhood cartoon? It was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. More important to me, Braden Passmore, more important to me, Trek's message or continuity? The message. The message and also the story of any individual episode. Continuity is great. I think continuity should be looked after, but continuity is not the most important to me by any means. Astro Gamer, what do I think are the chances of Trump dying of old age before the end of his mandate? I guess you mean his term. Not great. I think he'll probably live out his term. By the way, Long John Liverpool, thank you for the super chat. Norman Buckwald, Ro Laren should make an appearance in the new Picard series. That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. Anthony Hayslip, will Stargate come back to TV and will it cross over into the Trek world? Probably an answer, I don't know, probably not, and I don't think it'll ever cross over to Trek. Tanya Gibbs, do you have any hope for changes politically in November? Yes, I do. I am optimistic about the midterms. I'm not so optimistic that I have my heart set on it. Like if it doesn't go the way I want it to go, if Republicans are still in control of Congress after that, I will not be completely unprepared for that. But I do have hopes. I am cautiously optimistic that things will go our way in November. And then someone asked about Dwight Schultz. Yeah, Billy. Dwight Schultz as Barkley. How did I feel about his performance in the Flowers for Algernon allegory? Do you mean the Nth Degree episode where he gets made really smart? I thought that was a great episode, and I thought he did really well in that. I thought that was a terrific episode and a terrific performance. Rachel R. What's my opinion of DS9's Garrick? I love him. I think he's an awesome character, and I'm going to do a video about him at some point. I have a Garrick-related topic that I think will work for Trek Actually, and it's on my to-do list for that series. So I think Garrick is one of the best characters in the show. That's it for the lightning round, but I'm gonna answer the rest of the questions that I see in the live chat here before we wrap up. So, and again, if I missed your question, I deeply apologize. It's nothing personal, but I will go through and answer some more before we get done. Crew Paul, do you think we will ever advance to the level of Star Trek, and will we ever learn to be tolerant and live alongside each other in peace and harmony? I mean, I'd like to think so. Probably won't happen in my lifetime or the lifetime of anybody watching this, or the lifetime of anybody. I don't think anybody alive today will see it. I'll put it that way. But I would like to think it's possible. I mean, God, I'm not that much of a misanthrope. I like to think that it's possible. Yeah. Will we ever? I don't know. Do you think that, and this is from the Astro Gamer, do you think that the probable title of the Star Trek series, Star Trek Destiny, has anything to do with David Mack's amazing trilogy of books? And have you read them? I have not read them, and probably doesn't have anything to do with it. Because they never really reference very much from the books anyway, but it's possible. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe this is an exception. Maybe the books were the inspiration for the idea for the show. I don't know. I know literally nothing about it. The Onion News Network just reported Wallace Shawn will be replacing Daniel Craig as James Bond. Yeah, and I tweeted about that, and I came up with, I was pleased with myself. I said it's that it only makes sense to cast someone like Wallace Shawn as Bond, because for a character like Bond to be played by so many actors across so many decades and yet still always remain the same and never be reinterpreted would be beyond silly. It would be inconceivable. I'm sorry, I apologize. Radical Bacon, what would I do in a Star Trek universe? Be a starship captain, obviously. If I were smart enough. I don't know if I would be smart enough. Okay, Paul Dennings. I'm going to be honest, I don't like Trump, but I don't see how he's a Nazi. I don't think he is a Nazi. I think he is a fascist. Terry Weaver, Picard versus Trump in a fight. Picard would. I don't know if Picard would kill him, because I don't think Picard would. He's too ethical to kill somebody, even someone who really deserves it. But Picard would kick the fucking shit out of him. Doctor's Orders, best Enterprise episode. I can't remember the name of it, but it's an episode from season 1. My favorite. It's the episode where they're chasing the comet, and also there's the scene where they're answering the kids' letters from home on the bridge. I forget the title of it, but it's first season, and I really like that episode. That's the episode I always think of. Do I think Asia Argento is guilty of rape? I believe her accuser. I tend to believe accusers. So I'm assuming that the accusations against her are essentially accurate. I don't know anything about it beyond that. I don't think that she should be treated differently because she's a woman and her accuser is a man. I don't know if I saw the message that you sent me via Patreon or not, Humbilly. I'll have to check. Mr. Bigram, do you think that alien civilizations will welcome the U.S. Space Force, or are we going to get splattered? The Space Force isn't going to make it into space. I don't even think we're going to get the moon base. Pence was saying something today about the moon base. I don't even think we're not even going to get the moon base. So the alien civilizations are going to look at the Space Force and be like, oh, that's cute. And then if they decide to come conquer us, they're going to do it anyway. I mean, Space Force isn't going to be that, that much of a problem. Yes, I will promote the Patreon hangout this Sunday. Thank you, Some Random Geek. Braden Passmore, Cisco versus Worf. Who wins? God. Worf, I guess. I think Worf wins, but Cisco puts up a hell of a fight. Okay, so I think I'm going to call that a stream. I want to, as Some Random Geek reminded me, this Sunday is my Google Plus hangout with Patreon patrons, where it's not just me babbling to the chat. It's also hanging out with people in the room on camera with me, and I do that once a month, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So if you're a patron and you want to get in on the fun, it'll be Sunday at noon Eastern time, as always, or you can watch. It's streamed live to my YouTube channel, much as this is. So that'll be this Sunday at noon Eastern for about an hour. I also want to remind everybody that in addition to doing YouTube stuff, I am the co-host of several, two podcasts on the Let Me Listen podcast network. They are Late Seating, the movie review podcast, and Ensign's Log, the Star Trek themed comedy podcast. A new Ensign's Log episode went up today. Our new Late Seating went up last week. It was our review of The Love Guru, so you can check out the new episode of Late Seating and the new episode of the Ensign's Log at letmelistenpodcasts.com, and they are also linked in the description of this video, and you can subscribe to them via RSS and listen on your favorite podcast app if that is your want. I also want to remind you that I do this for a living, and I couldn't do this if it weren't for my awesome Patreon patrons. So if you are a Patreon patron of mine, thank you so much for your support at whatever level your support is. If you are not a Patreon patron of mine and you think I'm worth it and you can afford it, you enjoy the Trek Actually videos, or you enjoy these live streams, you enjoy the Facepalm 5 or Stephen Stuffy or Atheist Reads or any of the other videos that I do, and you can afford $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever amount you feel comfortable pledging, and whatever you think I'm worth, whatever you think the monetary value of my videos to you should be that you can afford. I would love for you to become a patron by going to patreon.com/Steve Shives. You don't have to. I don't expect everybody to, but if you can afford it and you think I'm worth it, it really helps me out if you become a patron. So you can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives for as little as $1 a month, or you can pledge more and take advantage of some other perks in the campaign as you work your way up. Thanks to everybody who is a patron of mine. Thanks to everybody who is not a patron of mine but watches and clicks like and shares the videos and takes part in these live streams and asks me questions in the chat and all of this. It is so much fun to be able to do this with you, and I appreciate you so much. And thanks for coming to the live chat. Those of you who are here live, thanks for all of the questions. I apologize again if I missed anybody. If you asked a question that I didn't answer, I didn't skip you on purpose or because I think you're a jerk or I didn't like your question or whatever. Sometimes I miss things in the live chat when we're doing it in the moment. But thanks to Some Random Geek for catching a few and putting them in front of my face. I do appreciate that. Thanks to the moderators, as always. So that's it. I'm out of here for this time. We'll be back in 2 weeks to do another one of these. Patreon Hangout on Sunday. See you then. And until then, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.